All right, this is recording is 795. The name of this podcast is Listen Next. 795, it's a part of my Speaking to the CIA podcast. You can find me at ChristinaStation918.com or speakingtothecia.com. As you know, this is the way that I have to make reports because Jean Roberts likes to hack my reports because she's busy trying to commit crime and run rackets, and part of that is a libel racket. So anyway, and you know that if you went to my website to read what I have on my website, you can't say you didn't know that you've been helping Jean Roberts commit crimes and you have no way out at this point. Everybody's had the opportunity to go find out. Even if you don't want to go to my podcast and you know I have one, the least you could have done is went to actual law enforcement, actual intelligence. I'm sorry my speech is being controlled to make me sound condescending and rude, but you can go to actual law enforcement, actual intelligence in person. Again, I would avoid females. I'm not anti-female, I'm a female. It's just that she's been highly exploitive and abusive of females. She uses them as a weapon. So if you care about females, you're definitely not going to go run off to a female who's probably likely sucked into Jean's crap. You're going to go to people that care about women, and you're going to go talk to men. So anyway, and then there are women that are wise to it, and they're like, nope, they go talk to men too. So nope. Anyway, as I am controlled with artificial intelligence, as you guys know, I still make podcast reports. That's the whole point of my podcast, is to make reports, because otherwise her lies run rampant. She commits crime with that money that she makes, and she blames everyone else. So I just can't tolerate being stalked, my family being stalked. I can't tolerate paying attention to her committing terrorism, using my life, pretending to be me, stealing my entire life, acting as she's me because she needs some cover, because all the crimes she's been committing are so filthy and nasty. I mean, we're talking about terrorism, trafficking, and treason. So anyway, rant over. Let me get to the decode. Okay, so all right. So anyway, okay, so I want to go back to the 70s again when I was in grade school. You know, she's talked to me my whole life, so I don't need to keep re-saying it over and over again. Okay, so anyway, back in grade school when I was going to East Globe Elementary. Remember I told you I went through all my little classmates. She stalked the hell out of all of them. She iced all of us, and then it was through all of my class years. From kindergarten up through my senior year, she probably stalked people and iced people I was in college with too. I mean, she has just stalked the ever-living heck out of me and everyone I've ever known, especially me and my family and people I've been married to and their families too. She's obsessed with the bloodlines of all of our families. She keeps following us around. She keeps stalking us and acting as she's got some self-ordained right to traffic and sell and lie and stalk and whatever the hell she's up to out there. Anyway, so grade school, when I went to East Globe Elementary. So one of the little kids that I went to elementary school with at East Globe Elementary, his name was Brad. And I know you guys know that because remember I decoded how she's talking Brad Pitt, and then Brad Pitt realized his stage name comes from my little classmate, Brad, when I was in grade school in East Globe. And then he was like, oh my God. And then he went and like decoded his own like movie history, figuring everything out on his own, the actual actor Brad Pitt, which surprisingly, like I told you before, Brad Pitt, like you see him, you see like a pretty guy. He's known for that, right? But he's like not that at all. He's like not that at all in personality. So it's pretty like, oh my God, you're not the way you look. You're just like a regular freaking dude. And now you're like freaking out. And he was like, he was like, he went off to go figure out what the hell Jean Roberts did to him. So anyway, So there was also a kid named Keith, right? Okay, so Brad and Keith. Brad was this little blonde kid that I went to grade school with, and Keith was this little redheaded kid I went to school with. Keith had a crush on me, okay? And I was really, really grossed out by him. And like I told you, they cast a character of him in A Christmas Story, the movie, my favorite Christmas movie. So when I look back on figuring out how Gene stalked me all my life, and I go watch A Christmas Story, my favorite Christmas movie, I freaking see Keith and that one kid, that little redheaded kid. I can't help but freaking see Keith. And I'm still like, I feel like a little kid again going, "Rah! Get away from me." But anyway, so, which is it's that part of it is hilarious. The rest of this is not, because she stalks me and all my little classmates. So we want to talk about Brad again. So, all right, so pay attention. I've already decoded this before, but note again what a Brad is. Okay, a Brad is the little gold circle with the little 2 gold prongs that come out of it, and you bend the prongs and you seal envelopes with them. Okay, so note what that looks like with the prongs out. It looks like a bar stool, and it looks like the lambda lambda symbol, and it looks like a little 2-person table. Okay, so anyway, she's also using inside Brad, she's also using braid, near CL code braid. And then inside Brad, she's also using Brian. So Brad is another form of Brian. And then CL code Brine, Brine, all the decode I did on that. She commits terrorism with Brine. So Brian, and then rye, and then rye bread, and all. I've already decoded all of this, okay? So inside Brad and Brian, it proves again. Remember I told you she was stalking my ex-husband, my last ex-husband. She stalked all my family, but right now I'm specifically speaking about my last marriage, Ben. Okay. It proves she was stalking his family, and I've already decoded this multiple hundreds of times, but here's more evidence. His brother's name is Brandon. And Brandon is also my son Anthony, one of his best friends. That's one of his best friends' name is Brandon. Okay, so oh my God, and then oh my God. So anyway, so if you combine Brian and Brad, you get Brandon. So again, she pre-planned Ben that early, that far back, but she pre-planned Brandon. And this is just like she uses ice on my family. She used ice on Ben's parents too. So it doesn't take away from them having a big, beautiful family. They all love each other, of course, just like my family all loves each other. But it doesn't take away from the fact that everybody's being stalked by Gene Roberts. So anyway, so Brandon, his brother, grows up. Guess what he joins? He joins the Navy. So, and you know, Gene Jernigan Roberts committed stolen valor in the Navy. So you can tell how, and then their dad's name is Barry, the same name as my dad. And then, which is also a form of Brian. And then, his wife worked at Old Navy. And I think she was a bigwig at Old Navy too. So, anyway, so you can see that Gene Roberts has been stalking all of them, and she pre-plans this. So either we're not born yet, or we're babies and then little kids, and then we all, like, all of our lives converge into, like, it's like she's playing dolls with all of us, and she's controlling all of our lives, and then all of our lives converge and merge into each other, and she's stalking all of our families individually all these years. So also inside this is radon, and then bread and jam, and then you're going to want to go back to the peanut butter and jelly. Remember I told you about the peanut butter and jelly when I was going to run away in grade school? So she's using bread and jam there, and then also then you see her creating, or deciding Benjamin's name is going to be Benjamin. Okay. So you see how she tore up his name, and he's got the cutest name in the world. But you see what she did there, and you can see what she did by putting her name inside his name. You can see the name Gene inside his name. So this is really, really important because back to the BTK. Okay, so, all right. So Brad and Keith. Okay, so you have a B and you have a K. Okay, so inside that, then you have Teeter Totter. Okay, so then you also have my cousin Todd. And then what did I make with the when I was in grade school, when I was at my grandma Stacey's house? What did I make with the, oh my God, what are the Tinker Toys? I made swing sets, and I made those rattles, and then I decoded all that, and I decoded her planning all kinds of explosions between Texas and Oklahoma City. I decoded her pre-planning, which still hasn't happened yet and may have already happened somewhat, besides the explosion that she did underground in Dallas. And then also the snakes, and then also her pre-planning to do the Oklahoma City bombing and World Trade Center attack. It's all in there. Okay. So anyway, so the BTK. Okay. So, you know, my cousin Todd, and then his name is Bussert. And again, that's inside Brett. That's got the same letters as Barry, Brian, Brad, all that. Okay. So anyway, he ends up, remember, you got to see my podcast where I decoded that Gene Roberts was involved in committing the crime along with those guys, that my cousin Todd was a defense attorney for, on a team of defense attorney in Connecticut. And it was a BTK style of killing. Okay. So you'll notice that Todd fits inside. So you've got B, then you have T, then you have K. All right. So then what the question is here, so you know that Gene Roberts committed that crime and is still not held accountable. She's running around acting like she's saving the children. The second question is did the BTK killer, because I solved the BTK killer's crimes, I decoded it, and I know that she is in his Manson occult, and I know that she committed those crimes along with him. So my question is, did Gene and the actual BT, and I'm talking about Gene Jernigan Roberts, did Gene Jernigan Roberts and her Manson occult actually use the actual BTK killer in committing those crimes that my cousin Todd Bussert became a defense attorney for in Connecticut? So you're going to see my podcast on all of that. So the BTKs also, she's also using Barker Ranch, which is one of her Manson hideouts. Okay, so then you forward from the 70s, from when I was in grade school. So then you forward the BTK to 1986 to my British Knights. So my best friend gave me a pair of British Knights. Okay, British Knights were huge. They were really, really popular. And she gave me a pair of British Knights. And I know from decoding that Gene meant those to be used as BTK. So if you look back again, she's calling herself Olivia Newton-John. Okay, this is what she does. She's using Grease as a theme. Now, got to talk about the movie Grease here. Grease starred Olivia Newton-John. You know she took Olivia Newton-John's life. You know she took Olivia Newton-John's husband's life. She killed him on a boat. She also killed Robert Wagner's wife. And Robert Wagner knows it now. So anyway, okay, so Grease 1, I loved Grease 1. My favorite was Grease 2. the movie Grease 2? Okay, so you know that was Liza. You know 2 is Gene Roberts' favorite number. But anyway, and then you got to see all decode I did. I decoded her stalking John Travolta. Okay, and she's so freaking gross. Like my name, Christina, she combined my name with Charles Manson's name, and then you do cross reduce between my name and Charles Manson, and all kinds of ciphers come out. I decoded all of that because I'm the Scorpio child. So I'm like, well, this is great. My name is da 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 da. So then, what she did with John Travolta's name is she combined her name, Jean Jernigan Roberts, with John Travolta, and I decoded all that, and she stalked ever living hell out of him. But he knows that Jean is stalking me. He knows who Jean Jernigan Roberts is. He knows about her Manson occult. So he's very well aware of what's going on. But anyway, so, and she's very obsessed with even that John Travolta. She used his name there too, his initials, JT, Jet. So, okay, so back to the 70s. So, in the movie, in Grease 1, Stalker, this is more evidence of her, again, stalking my family, my mom, my stepdad, my real dad's side of the family, and then her stalking Ben's family. So, Stalker Channing was in the movie. I love her name. I went to go look her up because I was like, when I was in the middle of decoding, I was in Slidell, and I'm like, she looks just like my mom. She looks like how my mom used to look when my mom was younger. And I went to go look, and she's got attitude like my mom, and I've got the same kind of attitude like Stalker Channing. And so I go to look her up to see what her name is because I didn't know what her name was. Now Stalker Channing, I'm like, oh my God, she has got the most prettiest name in the world. I love her name. So anyway, so you can tell Gina is making a reference to stockyards, and stockyards would be Fort Worth. So then again, also Fort Worth would go to the Betty bought a bit of butter because she's using the Butterworth. So then and then gold again. So that is Jean Jernigan Roberts stalking me and all of my family. So anyway, so what were the girls called in Greece? They were called Pink Ladies. Okay, so that would go to my British Knights. They were pink. So you can see she's using the BTK killer in my British Knights, and you can tell she's referring to herself as a pink lady. So again, that's signs of her stalking all of us. And then also, again, with Fort Worth, okay, so Ben and I, before we got married, we went to, oh my gosh, a dog. We went to buy dogs. We wanted to buy a dog. So Ben did the research, and we decided on getting a miniature schnauzer. And so we went to a dog breeder, and he lived in Fort Worth, and he bred miniature schnauzers. And we bought 2 miniature schnauzers, and we named them Holly and Daisy. Okay. So we named them we bought them around Valentine's Day. They were born around Christmas. And so breaking apart the word holiday, Holly, Daisy. Now Jean Jernigan Roberts iced us, controlling our lives to do all that. But I keep our lives as is, the way it is, all those precious memories. And I turned Jean in for the stalking. So again, that's another reference to Fort Worth. And you know how Jean loves to do the name of the big gigantic American flag is the holiday flag. So anyway, also note the initials of miniature schnauzers is MS, okay? And then she also MESS, and then also MSS. So somebody joked around with me in my brain. I'm like, well, I don't know about Ben, but I know myself as a Scorpio child. And then also SM, Sam. So Son of Sam. So also, like I end up turning out to be, well, because you're the Scorpio child, you're going to end up, you're going to decode that she committed these crimes, and you're going to turn her in, which is what I'm actually doing, is turning her in over and over. But I bet you anything, he's like that wherever he's at. We both turned into little freaking schnauzers, little freaking gumshoes. I don't know about Ben, but you know, you can't put anything past him. So I bet you that's what he's been out doing. So anyway, so also that proves that she was also icing the rapper Toddy D. And then because of Sandra D, and then my cousin Todd, and then and she wants to bring all this together because she really wants to make it look like it's African Americans doing it. Just little kids, just ding, 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 ding. Everything is little kids' fault. No, Jean Jernigan Roberts did this with her Manson Nicole. I've already explained her process of how she's done this for the past 60 years. So, and I've decoded it and I've explained in layout. This is her whole scheme. This is what she's been doing. So this also goes to 1986, when I lived in Chicago and I pledged to be in a girl gang. And it's a funny story because and I've told you this in a previous podcast, like my best friend, she was like, we were talking and I'm like, who's that? Or she's like, who's that? And they're like, they're a gang, they're a new gang, or they're a gang, and they were called the Minks. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be in a gang. And so she was like, so do I. And then I'm like, she's like, I'm going to go see if they'll let me join the gang. And I'm like, go see if I can join. Go. So anyway, she came back. This was later on. Then she came back and I'm like, what'd they say? And she goes, they said I could join. I'm like, oh my God, you're in the Minks. And then I'm like, what'd they say about me? And she goes, they said you can't be in the gang because you're white. And I was like, okay. It's the prettiest freaking thing in the world. So anyway, but it was a girl gang. So again, it connects backwards to the Pink Ladies. So, okay, switching subjects, moving forward. So I've already pointed out how she tore up the word seems, S-E-E-M-S. She also uses it seems like, S-E-A-M-S. Okay, so again, that's romance and occult stitching and sewing. Then there's also another one that's out there. I laugh because somebody used it in my life recently in just random conversation. And I was like, as soon as they said it, I was like, oh my God, Jean did that too. So anyway, they said, for some reason. So change the word S-O-M-E to S-U-M. So for some reason. So in that is, so she did that too. So for some reason, this keeps happening to me. For some reason, this is happening. Well, that might not be the situation. You might be being stalked. So anyway, so the initials of for some reason are FSR. So this is where I only know what I've figured out and I don't know after that, but there is unknowns here. So that says freezer, like a refrigerator, a freezer. Okay. So anyway, so what is the unknown here in the Bible, or what is the unknown blasphemy that Jean is using in the Bible? Because it's also making a reference to, because refrigerator, so reason. Okay, so a freezer and a refrigerator. Okay, so, and then also, so this has to be an Iceland. You have to see the Holy Bible. So it's a reference to Iceland, Greenland. Okay, and you know what Iceland, Greenland means in the Holy Bible. But I don't know what the usage is here of these sayings besides Jean Roberts' use of them to commit crime with. But like, is it she's just using these to mock the Bible and she's committing blasphemy? Or, which I mean, obviously she is. It's her and her Manson occult. But is there something biblical that she took from here that goes to Iceland, Greenland? Like, I'm talking about all the way back to the death of Jesus. Like, what's going? Is it a reference back to Adam and Eve? because when I decoded Adam and Eve, I know there was an ice age. I decoded it, and then then Adam and Eve. I'm not going to go through all this again, but the ice was gone, and there was Adam and Eve. So, what is this saying? There's something missing here that goes in the Holy Bible. So, knowing how Gene uses it, and then finding out what Gene did. Gene Robertson or Manson occult, like underneath this, like what's in the Holy Bible. This goes to the Holy Bible, but I don't know how or what beyond this part. So that's all for this recording.